What's up, y'all? Ashley here. I am back and ready to talk to you about mini bands. All right, this video is all about a couple different strengthening mini band exercises you can do anywhere, anytime, whenever you want, just to do some maintenance on the overall body, especially for skaters. I love these moves for skaters because they really focus on some key areas that are really important for skaters to be strong in. We're talking hips, we're talking core, we're talking back, we're talking ankles, we're talking wrists, y'all. Check it out. Hold on. Before we go, I got a little disclaimer. As you are doing these or trying these out, if you feel any strain, any pain, any funkiness, we do not keep going. We stop. And if this is pain that's been ongoing or continues, you are going to go see a professional. Get it checked out. Take care of ourselves, y'all. All right, let's get it. All right, first one, super easy peasy, super no-brainer for skaters. We're working on a banded foot flick strengthener. Now, for this one, I recommend that we are sitting down for it, and we're going to put that band on the middle of the foot. Now, from that position, you want to really focus on making sure your ankle is bringing that foot out and bringing that foot in. So something I like to do is even hold onto my knee so I can just actively make sure I'm using my ankle for this one. As you see me doing this, you're seeing I'm bringing that foot almost in a little bit further, and then I bring that foot out and repeat, bringing it back in and bringing it out and repeating. Now, really critical that we really control all the way through this movement at every point in the movement, even holding it at each end range. As we go out, we hold it a second. As we come in, we hold it a second. So you can really get strong in all parts of that range. For this one, I want you to focus on trying to hit anywhere between 20 and 30 reps on one foot, and then 20 to 30 reps on that other foot. And don't forget, we want to keep tension in that band all the way through the movement. Even as we bring that foot in, you want to still feel there's tension in that band. A good way to make sure that happens is to start with those feet a little bit wider. All right, next exercise, we are talking dead bug. Now, for this one, I'm going to recommend we try it without the band on first, so we can really focus in what the main point of this one is. So to try this one out, I'm going to recommend starting on our hands and knees if we've never done this one. Our goal is to really focus on figuring out how to do a hip tuck. So on your hands and knees, you can see here I'm arching my back and then I'm tucking my hips under. That's going to help engage my lower abdomen. So I'm really trying to find that hip tuck. Another way I like to think about it is pretending I have an imaginary belt on. I'm trying to bring my belt to my rib cage. Cool. Once you've tried that one a couple times on your hands and knees, flip on over, and we're going to do it from our back. So for this one, we're laying down, head is on the ground. From there, I'm going to tuck my hips under, really thinking about trying to press my back into the ground under me, just gently. Another way to think about it is to close the rib cage. We are going to bring our knees up to a 90 degree. Then we're going to go to the next step. Next step is taking one heel down to the ground, tapping it, bringing it back up with control. Once it's back, we're going to send that other heel down, tapping it on the floor and bringing it right back up. Really important that we return that leg back to the starting position before we send that next leg. And again, the whole time we're focusing on our low back, staying gently pressed into the ground under us. Awesome. Once we've got that down, what we can try to do here is go and put that band on. Now, for this one, we want to put the band right above the knee, and we're going to try the movement on with that band. Now that we got the band on, we also want to focus on keeping those knees hip distance, so making sure we got tension in the band as we do it for a little extra challenge. Now again, I would start by just bringing your heel to the ground, returning to that starting position, and doing it on the other side. Once we've got that nailed down, we can actually turn up the heat a little and we can add in the opposite arm. So as you extend one heel down to the ground, we're gonna bring that opposite arm overhead and then return them back. And then you're gonna switch and do the other side. Again, move through this one slow and controlled. You can hold it at the bottom a little bit longer to get a little bit more. Cool. Now, if you're somebody that has any back issues or this one's challenging to keep your back pressed into the ground, then I want you to think, don't bring that arm and foot out as far. Your focus is keeping that low back pressed into the ground. So if we extend that leg and arm too far, we're going to notice that our back will start to arch. That is a signal that we've gone out too far. As we strengthen our core, we're going to be able to go out further and further with that leg and arm. So really listen to your body and where you're at, and let the focus be that low back pressing into the ground under you. Cool. This one I would do for time. I recommend doing this one for 20 to 30 seconds total, alternating sides. All right, next one's coming in hot. Next one we call a plank in and out. Now for this one, again, I'm going to recommend doing it without the band first. So we're going to get into our plank position. Now for your plank position, we want to make sure those hands are right under our chest. We want to make sure they're not out in front of us, right under the chest, okay? Now, from there, we want to think about pressing through the ground into our hands, pressing so much we're pushing our neck and our shoulders to the sky. When you press, you're going to feel your shoulder blades separate a little bit. Now, once that upper body is set up and loaded, then what we're going to do is we're going to focus on that hip tuck. Again, we're going to do a slight hip tuck, really starting to engage that core, just like we did in that dead bug. Now, once your plank is all set up, we want to make sure that our feet are a little bit wider than our hips. That's going to help us stabilize in this movement. Now, once we're there, we're going to think about bringing our hand out, tapping the ground, and back in. We bring the other hand out, and we bring that hand back in. Again, as you bring that hand out and in, it's about control. It's not about how far you can get that hand out. It's about bringing that hand out, barely tapping the ground, controlling that hand back in. So really controlled movement is key here. All right, the other thing I want to point out on this one is noticing what's happening to my hips here. Our goal is to really isolate the rest of our body. Nothing should be shifting around other than that hand coming in and out. So you're going to really think about those hips, and using your core, you're going to try not to let your hips shift side to side as you bring your hands in and out. Now for this one, if this one starts to feel a little too challenging, the way we can make it a little less challenging is we can actually move the band a little bit higher towards the elbow joint. Now for this one, I would recommend doing reps. I'd recommend doing anywhere between 12 and 20 reps total as you alternate side to side. All right, next movement. It's one of my faves. It's our hip bridge. Pretty simple move, but really important, and really important that we do it right. So again, if you want, try this one without the band first. And then once you feel like you've got it down, then we can add that band in. All right, so for this one, we're laying on the ground. Our head's on the ground, our shoulders are on the ground, our arms at our side. Now, again, we're talking about that hip tuck again. So for this one, I want you to think about tucking those hips under, pressing that back gently into the ground, holding that as we push into our heels and lift our hips up. Good, and then we bring them right back down and we repeat. We bring them up, we bring them down with control. Really important that our focus is on keeping the hip tuck on the way up and on the way down. So it's not about how high can you get your hips each time. It's about how much can you hold that hip tuck all the way through as you bring those hips up and down. And the reason why is we want to focus on the glutes, the butt working in this movement. If we don't have that hip tuck, what happens is we often start rounding we're arching our low back, and then it becomes more of a back dominant movement rather than a glute dominant movement. So really focus on that hip tuck and holding on to that as you bring those hips up and down. All right, now I know y'all like a little bit of a challenge every now and again. So if you need a little bit more of a challenge here, you can go ahead and even try this one single leg. Now again, make sure that you are not focusing on getting the hips high. The focus is that hip tuck. Now the other thing that makes this extra juicy is that you're also keeping those knees hip distance, not letting those knees cave, which is a little bit more challenging now that we have one foot off the ground. And of course, you're doing single leg, make sure you do both sides. Now for your hip bridge, I would recommend doing anywhere between 20 and 30 reps. If you're doing single leg, I would focus on working closer on 20 reps on each side. If you're doing double leg, work closer to 30 reps total. All right, cool. Next one. It's a fun one. It's one that I like because it looks real simple, but once you get into it, you're like, ooh. This one we call our banded clamshell. Now, for this one, we're getting into our side plank position. Again, if this is a new move or being in a side plank is a new position, start with no band. Get the side plank down, and then we'll add the band. So let's talk about your side plank. You want to lay on the side. Then we want to take the elbow and we want to put that elbow right under our shoulder. We want to think about pressing our shoulders down, pulling them down away from our ears. So we're nice and tall in this position. We're going to bend the knees at a 90 degree. And then we're going to focus on the hips. I want you to push the hips forward. And then I also want you to think about getting your hips up as high to the sky as you can here. Now holding that, we're going to go into our clamshell. So you're going to keep your feet glued together and holding this side plank position. You're going to open your knee, your top knee, as high as you can, as wide as you can. And then you're going to bring it back in. Open that top knee all the way, holding it and bringing it back down. The whole time keeping a beautiful side plank position. All right, if you nailed down that side plank, go ahead and get that band on. We're going to put that band right above the knee, as you can see. And we're going to crank out those clamshells from here. Again, important to make sure that you control the movement. Open up that top knee, hold it with that wide knee, and then control it, bringing it back in. And remember, as you bring that knee back in, we never bring our knees together because we don't want slack at any point in the movement. So you bring that knee back just before it's going to get slacky, and then pull that knee back out wide. And don't forget to do the other side. Now, for these banded clamshells, I recommend doing nice high reps. Again, anywhere between 20 and 30 reps on each side. All right, y'all, next one is another side plank position. This one is our side plank leg lift. Again, you know what I'm about to say. If this is a new one, try it without the band first, and then we can put that band on once we understand the foundation of the movement. So we're getting back into our side plank, but this time I'm going to challenge you to see if you can get in your more challenging side plank. So what that looks like, same idea. Elbow is right under that shoulder. Shoulders are pulled down away from the ears. From there, we're going to actually try to stack our feet on top of each other. Now we're going to bring those hips forward and then up as high towards the sky as we can. Now you're going to hold this side plank position. And once you got this, you're going to see if you can bring that top leg up and back down without moving in that side plank position. Now this is a lot. So if we need it to be a little less challenging, rather than stacking our feet, think about stacking your knees and bending the bottom knee at a 90 degree. Hips up as high as you can to the ceiling, hips forward. So we have a nice straight line from knee to ear, running all the way through our torso, and then we lift that top leg. And again, once you've got this one down, go and throw that band on. Now, if you're doing it from that bottom bent knee, then we want to put the band above the knee. If you're able to get into a side plank with a straight leg and your feet stacked, I'm going to ask you to put that band right below the knee. On this one, the more we can move that band down closer towards the ankle, the more challenging it's going to make this one. And this is where I remind you, it's not about height. It's not about how high you can get that top leg. It's about how much control can you have when you lift that leg and bring it back down. Now, this one's a challenging one, so I'm going to recommend you do it for time. I'd say we could do this one anywhere from 20 to 30 seconds on both sides and see how many reps you can do in those 20 to 30 seconds. All right, y'all. Final movement here. I like this final movement because it's more of a total body. Now, this one is our Staggered Stance Row. Now, for this one, we're going to go ahead and put that band on the center of our foot. Now from here, I'm going to hold the band in the opposite hand as that foot. So if the band is around my left foot, I'm holding the band in my right hand. Now from here, what we want to do is we want to put our weight in that front foot. And we're going to focus on pulling the elbow back, controlling it there, and then bringing it back down. Now, as you're pulling that elbow back, again, think about pulling through the elbow, not your hand. As you're pulling that elbow back, see if you can hold it and then bring it back down with control. Pull that elbow back, hold it, bring it back down with control. Now, as you're doing this one, this is another one we want to make sure that when we set up, we've got those shoulders pulled down away from the ears, and then we pull. Now, a really critical piece in this one is when you're in that staggered stance, making sure we've got a nice proud chest so we have a nice flat back. We don't want to be rounded anywhere in that back. I love this one because we're working on the back, we're also working on the core, we're also lighting up that front leg. So this is a beautiful one, really working on different parts of the body, especially important parts of the body for skaters. Now for this one, again, I'm looking for some high reps. I'm looking for anywhere between 20 and 30 reps here, y'all. And again, making sure we're doing both sides. All right, y'all, that's it. 7 of some of my favorite mini band strength exercises. Get out there, try them out. Let me know if you got questions and let us know how they're going. And I'll see you soon.